I swear, this is the third time I'm trying to record this video, and maybe this time I'll get it right. Hey everybody, Rod here. This is a recap of my One Ring campaign, my mini campaign that was supposed to last about 6 sessions. The last time I covered the first 2 sessions. Today I'm going to cover sessions 3, 4, and 5. I have session 6 coming up pretty soon, but we may continue. Stay tuned for that. When last we left our heroes, we had a company of 3. We had a ranger named Halas, we had a hobbit named Merrick, and we have a dwarf champion named Farron. Farron is an NPC that I decided that the company needed to round out the group, and I was right about that. And they encountered a bandit orc camp, defeated the bandits and orcs. There was a troll. That was a tough fight, but they overcame the troll, and that's where we left the last session. If you want further details, go and see the previous video. I'm sure I'll link it here somewhere, or at the very least in the description. So let's pick up from the last session. The party is exploring the cave that the troll was staying in. It turns out he wasn't the only troll that had been there at the camp. There were more trolls, a small number of them, including a really rather cunning one, at least that's what the bandits thought, that he was a troll, or the dwarves that were actually captive, that the players actually rescued. They were captive in the cave. Their names was Einar, Vidar, and Gainar. They gave the party some information, including the smart troll's name. They referred to him as the ogre captain, but they also overheard a name, Mormog. So now they have a name to put to the face of this cunning troll-like creature, who is apparently the head of whatever is going on in Eriador that is causing the trolls to rise up and the bandits to ally with them. They also learned that Mormog and the trolls that were there were heading up to the north to a abandoned fort where they had a base of operations. There was some big construction project going on from what the dwarves could tell, but they weren't exactly sure. So of course the party needed to journey there to check that place out. They also learned some things about the area. There were many smaller tunnels that crisscross the area, and they cover a large region of Eriador so that the trolls can travel underground and not have to deal with the sunlight. So the party, they rescue the dwarves. The dwarves gathered whatever belongings and decided that they can handle themselves now that the heroes handled the biggest threat, and they left them on their way and thanked them and so on and so forth. Then the company went on a journey. It was a short journey. This was my first time using the journey rules in earnest. I really liked them, but one of the things that I've learned from this and another journey that I ran a little bit in a later session is that I need to do more preparation for journey events, because they can be hard to ad-lib, especially if you've never done something like this before, which I haven't, not with the One Ring at least. They completed their journey with a little bit of fatigue, but none the worse for wear. In the general vicinity of this abandoned fort, apparently this abandoned fort was built next to the Horwell River. Of course, it wasn't abandoned now. There were a couple of bandits that were keeping watch, but it doesn't seem like there was a whole lot going on. There's a tunnel like off to the side and underneath, perhaps going to some dungeons and what have you. Probably had a door, probably had a guard in the past, but today there was no such thing. The hobbit stuck around the back of the fort just to get a better view of what's going on. It turned out there was just only like 3 or 4 bandits that were there just to watch out for things. It's kind of a desolate part of the region, and I had judged that they weren't looking for much. So Farron, the dwarf, made a distraction, made a lot of noise, challenged the bandits, and combat had begun. The characters did an opening volley, and they made pretty short work of the bandit, and amazingly, they did not make enough noise to get the attention of the denizens of the dungeon, because, well, they were quite frankly a little bit deeper in the tunnel I had ruled. They explored the main level of the abandoned fort, and they ended up in a tower, and they found 3 Dunedain. Halas knew that there were Dunedain that were missing, and he was tipped off to this, but before the start of the adventure, And so one of the things that he was looking for clues to the whereabouts of um, these these rangers, and he found them. The rangers' names were Aravel and Eridan and Lorlas. Now, Lorlas is special because Lorlas is actually a PC. See, I added a third player to the group. I asked him to play a ranger, and he agreed. So he is playing a ranger warden. That's how I introduced him to the group. They freed the rangers, and then the 6 of them went underground where they were keeping the equipment of the Rangers. And so they equipped themselves. They did end up fighting some orcs and defeating them. But after that, Aravel and Eridan decided they needed to go back to the Dunedain settlements to warn them, because one of the things that the trolls and orcs wanted with them is to find out the location of various Dunedain settlements so they could either, 1, avoid them, or 2, sack them when they have the opportunity. So this was obviously a big deal. And it seems like Mormont's plan was bigger and bigger, and this was going to be a big deal. So some other things they learned as they were exploring the dungeon underneath, vanquishing the orcs and whatnot, is that there was a huge tunnel that was being dug underneath the Horwell to move a massive number of trolls, basically from one side of the river to the other, and its sole purpose is to move a great army to wreak havoc. As I said in the previous video, I believe I said this in the previous video, the bandits that allied with them wanted to take advantage of the chaos that the trolls and orcs were going to sow for monetary gain. The trolls and orcs are just doing the bidding of their dark master. The 2 rangers, Aravel and Eridan, left, and actually so did Farron, because Farron decided that it would be in his best interest to go back to his people and warn them in the Blue Mountains. And the company agreed, so the 2 rangers and the dwarf left, which made for a party of 3. Now we have a party of 3. The ranger champion Hollis, the ranger warden Lorlas, and the hobbit scholar Merrick. In the last session that I ran recently, we started the session with them exploring a little bit more of the dungeon and finding this vault, which aided the area of the fort back to the Second Age. They found ancient Numenorian writings, and they found that there was some chains, but the chains were broken. So we had a great mystery. Well, before they can figure out this great mystery, a troll came from deep within the dungeon, basically from where the trolls and orcs were actually working. Bum rushed the party, and that was a tough fight. And I also had some, every now and then I would roll a die, add, 1 or a couple of orcs to the fight. Of course, they would make short work of the orcs, but the troll was a big challenge, and they decided that they needed to run because Hollis got walloped, and he was weary, and he was low on endurance, so they ran. But they ran to get in a better position to fight, because they decided they wanted to finish out the fight. I didn't think that was the greatest idea, since one of their party was basically in single-digit hit points. The troll could make short work of the rest of them. But of course, the troll was also pretty well hurt. I didn't telegraph that. They managed to succeed on their rolls as a combination of stealth and athletics rolls. They cleaned up the orcs that were in the immediate area, and so there weren't any orcs following, so it was just them running away from the troll, and the troll was chasing them. They were able to outsmart the troll and all that kind of stuff and get them in a position where they could finish them off. It was an epic battle. The players loved it. They thought that they were going to die, and quite frankly, they could have. One more hit from that troll, and one of them would have been down, and then who knows what was going to happen. But they succeeded. That was cool. So they rested up. Overnight, they were approached by a ghostly figure. Her name was Ferundun, the Hunter of the East. She was an ancient spirit that wandered to Arda. Sauron enticed her and entrapped her so that she ended up serving him. But when he was diminished at the end of the Second Age, she wandered around aimless for a while. Then servants of Isildur actually captured her and put her in the vault. That's who was in that vault. But she broke free, but she's not completely free because Mormog found her, and now she's under Mormog's control. They had a council. They were able to convince her that they were competent enough to help her with her problem. And so she gave them information about Mormog, He was heading to the Edendales and the Broadcleave, I think it's called. I'll correct that soon. He was going to an area to gather trolls and to give them a great speech and direction. So the company journeyed there, and that's pretty much where we ended the session. It's been a whole lot of fun. I'm learning a lot. I'm learning I need to handle the journey mechanics more. I've most certainly mishandled some of the mechanics. For example, the troll has a might of 2, which means he attacks 2 times a round. And I was only attacking once a round. I certainly was holding my punches unintentionally. But at the same time, even with that battle, I was bringing more and more orcs in, so I guess it kind of evened out. So there's a lot of things. It's a new system. There's some more moving parts. It's a pretty simple system, but there's just some moving parts that I need to get accustomed to over time. I mentioned earlier in this video that we may be playing more. So I have an idea or two kicking around in my head about going to Numinas or going to Fornas to basically have another 6 to 8 sessions. I've always been fascinated by Numinas. There's not a whole lot written about it, but the players seem keen on it, and that'll give us a chance to play the system a little bit more. Now that means that I'll be the lore master continuing on instead of handing it off to somebody else, but I'm totally fine with that. Anyway, I'm absolutely loving the system. I can't wait to do my system overview video, which I will get to soon. But first, I gotta edit this video and get this up to YouTube so that you folks can see it. Thanks for sticking with me. Happy New Year, and until next time, see you later.